everyone. Now, I know that it's hard to keep up on top of what's going on in the Holy Land, but if you want to know more about what's happening here in Israel, I'm Aaron Porras, and this is the Weekly Review. Israeli President Isaac Herzog meeting with representatives of every party following the 5th elections in Israel, and 64 Knesset members endorsing Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu for the next prime minister, which means that Herzog will be giving Netanyahu the mandate to negotiate a new government.
לפי כל השיקולים הנובעים מהחוק ומן המסורת שהונהגה על ידי קודמיי. מבחינת התמיכה הגדולה ביותר במועמד מסוים מקרב חברי הכנסת, ומבחינת המפלגה הגדולה ביותר בכנסת, וכמובן מבחינת השיקול עליו מצביעים כשיקול המרכזי. מיהו חבר הכנסת לא יש את הסיכוי הגבוה ביותר להרכיב את הממשלה הבאה, התוצאה היא ברורה. ויש להטיל את מלאכת הרכבת הממשלה על חבר הכנסת בנימין נתניהו.
Outgoing Prime Minister Yair Lapid, meantime, receiving just 28 endorsements from his own Yesh Atid party and the left-wing Labour. And the remaining 28 Knesset members from the National Unity, the Israel Beitenu, and the Arab parties Ram and Hadash-Tal abstaining from any recommendations. Still, while Netanyahu has the majority, his hopes of immediately forming a coalition now delayed. This as negotiations opposite his religious Zionism and Haredi party backers reportedly set to extend for at least another week. Among the issues causing delay, tense pushback against giving key ministerial portfolios to members of the religious Zionism party. Party leader Bezalel Smotrich, for example, still trying to get the defense or the finance portfolio, with Netanyahu showing reluctance to give him either. Though of the two, it's more likely that Smotrich would be given control of the Treasury, while defense would be retained by the Likud, as would the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Justice Ministry, and the position of Knesset Speaker. Itamar Ben-Gvir, on the other hand, still expected to gain the Public Security Ministry as demanded. And then as for the Haredi parties, Shas, for one, is expected to get the Interior Ministry and the Religious Affairs Ministry, the Orthodox elements in government working hard to reverse the previous coalition's supposed leniency in matters of faith and national observance law, including barring Reform converts from eligibility to immigrate or to make aliyah to Israel. In any case, final appointments likely to be announced in the coming week.
IDF security forces continuing to mount pressure on Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists and other similar groups in Judea and Samaria over the weekend, and publishing footage from a Saturday morning raid, the IDF showing arrest of 2 terror suspects, both convicted terrorists and former prisoners in Israel, including one senior Islamic Jihad leader, Mohammed Samir Abu Zina. Abu Zina was indicted for his involvement in terrorist activities, including arming and funding Islamic Jihad terror cells across Judea and Samaria. And after his release from prison just 3 months ago, he reportedly resumed these activities. The arresting forces, meantime, operated near Jenin, coming under attack by Palestinian rioters who threw stones and explosive devices, though no IDF injuries were reported.
The world reeling from a devastating explosion on Istiklal Street in Istanbul, a suspected terrorist planting a bomb, leaving half a dozen dead and dozens more injured. Tragedy in Istanbul at Taksim Square. 6 people murdered and 81 injured on Sunday evening by a bomb exploding in the busy pedestrian street. CCTV footage showing a young woman placing a bag believed to have contained the explosive before fleeing the scene. Turkish President Erdogan saying the attack, quote, smells of terrorism.
Kesin olarak bu terördür dersek belki yanlış olur ama ilk gelişmeler, ilk valimin bize aktardığı bilgi, burada bir terör kokusu var ve şu an itibarindeki oradaki kaçışmalar vesaire filan ve bir kadının bu işte rol oynadığı noktasında ilk tespitler.
By Monday morning, several suspects reportedly arrested, apparently including the woman seen on camera before the attack. The precise motives still yet to be unearthed, as no body or group has claimed responsibility. But while Turkey suffering a string of bombings between 2015 and 2017 by the Islamic State and outlawed Kurdish separatist factions, Turkish government officials pointing fingers at the PKK or the Kurdistan Workers' Party, which in the past was connected to several deadly attacks.
Olayı yapan, bombayı bırakan kişi İstanbul Emniyet Müdürlüğümüzün ekipleri tarafından gözaltına alındı. Ondan önce yaklaşık 21 kişi daha gözaltına alınmıştı. elde ettiğimiz bulgular çerçevesinde PKK-PYD terör örgütü.
In any case, Israeli officials sending condolences to the Turkish people. Prime Minister Yair Lapid wishing strength to Turkey and vowing to join in the fight against terror worldwide. Further, as Israelis targeted for recent attempted attacks in Turkey, security officials in Jerusalem issuing a travel warning and urging all Israelis already in Istanbul to stay in their hotels and follow Turkish law enforcement's instructions. A shock to the nation Tuesday morning as a Palestinian terrorist murders 3 Israelis and critically injures at least 3 more in Judea and Samaria. The attacks committed in 2 locations just outside the Ariel industrial zone in Judea and Samaria, and then along the nearby highway. While the exact sequence of events is still unclear as of this writing, reports indicating that the Palestinian man stabbing and seriously wounding a security guard near the entrance to the Industrial Park gas station when the guard had his back turned. This before fleeing to the Tan gas station and stabbing 3 more individuals, 2 fatally. The terrorist then fled in an apparently stolen car, which he subsequently used to run over another Israeli at an intersection, killing him, and soon after the terrorist crashing into another car. He then gets out of his vehicle, attacked a nearby driver, stole a second car, before driving against traffic to escape IDF forces. It's at this point that the terrorist reportedly caused an accident, crashing into another car, critically injuring the driver, a man in his 50s. He then exited the disabled vehicle and fled before finally being neutralized by security forces. Initial reports indicating 2 terrorists in separate attacks, but authorities later clarifying that the second suspect was actually another victim. Further, the terrorist later identified as an 18-year-old from the village of Kharz, and he reportedly had permits to enter Israel to go to work at a branch for Intel. But he is also affiliated with the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah party, as is the terrorist's father, who was recently released from prison where he served time on terror-related charges. Samaria Regional Council head Yossi Dagan therefore saying the Palestinian Authority and its chairman, President Mahmoud Abbas, are directly to blame for this and other recent attacks due to the PA's continued incitement and financial incentivization for terror against Israelis. Right-wing lawmaker Itamar Ben-Gvir, meanwhile, soon expected to take up the role of public security minister, vowing to use a heavy hand in order to clamp down on the ongoing wave of terror attacks that until now have left over 26 Israelis murdered this year.
Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz released a statement Monday evening calling the decision taken by the U.S. Justice Department to conduct an investigation into the death of Palestinian journalist Jenin Abu Akleh a mistake, and said Israel would not cooperate with an external investigation. Gantz said that the IDF had already conducted a professional, independent investigation, which was presented to American officials with whom the details were shared. He added that the IDF will not enable intervention to internal investigations. Israel's Channel 14 initially reported that the U.S. officials updated their Israeli counterparts about their intentions to launch a probe, likely by the Federal Bureau of Investigation earlier this month. Abu Akleh, an Al Jazeera reporter, was shot to death last May during clashes between Israeli troops and Palestinian gunmen in Jenin. Her death caused worldwide speculation as to which side was responsible for her shooting, with the IDF launching an investigation finding that she was likely shot by mistake by an Israeli soldier responding to Palestinian gunfire. The Palestinian Authority and Abu Akleh's family have, however, insisted that the IDF intentionally targeted and killed her. The U.S. decision represents a slap in the face to Israel's defense establishment and a reversal from the Biden administration's initial stance that it would not open its own investigation.
And now we are joined by strategic consultant and member of the Likud Central Committee, Dor Harlap. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So the 25th Knesset being sworn in today, an exciting day. What are the main challenges that will face this Knesset?
So I believe that this Knesset will have a few challenges. First of all, in the last few years, because we had such crazy situations, there were many basic rules that have been changed. We had 2 prime ministers in the last few years, and the power of small parties was much more than it used to be. I believe that it's a great challenge that we will have right now, and also the Norwegian law that makes that bring us to have gets us to have more parliament members, which doesn't have much power as the usual Chaver Knesset parliament member has. I believe that in the last few weeks we will see how Yariv Levin is leading the coalition in a way to change the way that we govern today. Interesting to see that which ministries Bezalel Smotrich and Aryeh Deri will receive because they have not so many mandates. But if we will take a look on the last 2 years, 4 years, we see that if you get so many mandates, you can get the most.
So let's talk about this new coalition that's forming, the coalition negotiations. Everyone thought this was going to be a piece of cake. Netanyahu finally has his dream right-wing government. Why is it taking so long to form?
First of all, I'm not sure that this is Netanyahu's dream. I know that it's his voters' dream. Okay, it's a little bit different. But I believe that many of the people in the right wing feel like many of their wishes and their ideologies were being set aside in the last few years. And now they have this amazing opportunity to make them possible in the real world. So they want to see how they make it happen. I'll take again Bezalel Smotrich as an example. He believes that, all of the situation in Judah and Samaria, Yehuda v'Shomron, should be changed, okay? And he wants to get tools to do that. Now, it's not that easy. It's a process that should be happening in, I don't know, a few years, not so many. I believe we should do the same, but it takes a while, and now he feels that he has the opportunity, and that's his chance. He doesn't know what we're going to have in 3 or 4 or 5 years if we're going to have the same situation again.
And now, the latest news coming out of the Likud is that Aryeh Deri might be given the position of defense minister. What is the thought process here? It seems a bit of a mismatch, especially considering the fact that the majority of his constituents don't even serve in the IDF.
I believe that Aryeh Deri, even if he has a great experience sitting in the cabinet, I believe that today he's been sitting in the most cabinet meetings among all the other ministers to be. But still, I don't think it's relevant for him to be defense minister.
And yet Netanyahu supposedly, reportely offered him this position.
We see a lot. First of all, he has 11 seats. Netanyahu he can't just do whatever he wants. His coalition is making him do things. There he says, "Hey guys, I got 11 seats. I would like to get what I should get for 11 seats." Now, Bezalel also saying the same thing. So Netanyahu here is
But doesn't Deri want the finance ministry, the interior ministry?
First of all,
Smotrich clearly after the defense ministry.
Smotrich clearly, from what I see, wants to be the finance minister. Okay, but he's being pushed away for many reasons. I believe that he will be a great finance minister. But Aryeh Deri, I believe, should take something like he used to do until now, to be interior affairs minister. I used to work with his team and also a little bit with him when I was a political advisor in the Knesset. They did a great job. They are very good at this, and maybe to take transportation, which is very important to his voters, okay, because many of them use public transportation, and I believe that this is an issue that you need a strong minister to make some changes. So if Aryeh Deri will take to himself interior affairs and transportation, I believe this is a fair deal. It's very interesting to speak about Ron Dremer. I don't know if you...
Right, there's reports that he's being offered the foreign minister. What can you tell us about that?
So I believe that Ron Dremer is able to be a great foreign affairs minister. He was a fantastic ambassador
clearly,
in Washington. Everybody knows in the world that he and Netanyahu have close relationship. And also, he can be a good face for us among leaders in the world. And he can continue to push the momentum from Abraham's Accord towards many other peace process and strengthening our relations with many countries in the world. So I believe this is a great idea.
We'll see, I think, in the coming days, in the coming weeks for sure.
What's going to be?
The December 11th deadline.
Very interesting to see.
Dol Halep, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much.
Israel still in mourning following the murderous rampage of a Palestinian terrorist in Ariel Tuesday morning. 3 Israelis killed and now named, and 3 more Israelis still hospitalized with grave injuries. ILTV's Aaron Porras reports.
59-year-old Moti Ashkenazi from Yavne, a father of 3 and grandfather of 2. 36-year-old Michael Ladigan from Bat Yam, a father of 2 who moved to Israel from Ukraine. And 50-year-old Tamir Avichai from Kiryat Netafim, husband and father of 6. These are the 3 Israelis murdered Tuesday morning in the 20-minute Palestinian terrorist killing spree that left another 3 gravely injured just outside the Ariel Industrial Park in Judea and Samaria, an area where both Israelis and Palestinians work together. Hundreds of Israelis attending the funerals Tuesday evening following the attack, the victims described as family men full of love. May their memory be a blessing. Meantime, the IDF mapping the home of the terrorist, an 18-year-old Fatah member from Hares, for demolition. The terrorist, praised in the Palestinian Authority and in Gaza as a hero, held a permit to work at Intel in the Ariel Park, and he used the permit to enter the area where he committed his heinous assault on civilians. Now that the dust has settled, more accurate reports describing the timeline of the attack. The terrorist arriving at the entrance to the Ariel Industrial Park around 9:30 in the morning, and he stabbed the guard, wounding him. Another security guard then fired into the air rather than directly at the terrorist, for which an investigation has been opened. The terrorist then escaped into the nearby gas station and stabbed 3 more people, 2 of whom were killed. After this, he stole a car and proceeded to crash into other cars on the nearby highway and run someone over, killing him. Then he got out of the car, stabbed another person, stole a second car, and drove against traffic to escape the IDF, who by now were closing in. Finally, after crashing the second car, the terrorist exited the vehicle and attempted to flee, where soldiers and armed civilians shot him dead. In its entirety, the rampage lasting about 20 minutes.
Georgian security forces reporting that they identified a group of Georgians with dual Iranian and Pakistani citizenship who planned to kill an Israeli citizen. The Pakistani was reportedly sent to the country to assassinate the Israeli, while the Iranians provided him with weapons. Here are the details. Georgia's State Security Service said on Tuesday that it had foiled an attempt by a criminal gang to murder an Israeli citizen in the south of the Caucasian country.
სახელმწიფო უსაფრთხოების სამსახურის კონდაზვერის დეპარტამენტის მიერ გამოვლენილ და აკვეთილ იქნა დანაშაულებრივი ჯგუფის მიერ საქართველოში დაგეგმილი ისრაელის მოქალაქის მკვლელობის მცდელობა. გატარებული ოპერატიულ სამძებრო ღონისძიებების და საგამოძიებო მოქმედებების შედეგად დაკავებული არიან პაკისტანისა და ირანს საქართველოს ორმაგი მოქალაქეობის მქონე პირები. იდენტიფიცირებული არიან უცხოეთში მყოფი ორგანიზატორები, მათ შორის დადგენილი არიან მკვლელობის სავარაუდო შემკვეთი ირანის მოქალაქე და სხვა მონაწილე პირები, რომელთა მიმართ მიმდინარეობს კომპლექსური ოპერატიულ სამძებრო ღონისძიებები. გამოძიებით დადგენილია, რომ დანაშაულებრივი ჯგუფის მიერ საქართველოში გამოიგზავნა ამ ჯგუფში ჩართული პაკისტანის მოქალაქე, რომელსაც დავალებული ჰქონდა საქართველოში ისრაელის მოქალაქის მკვლელობა.
Georgian security personnel reportedly prevented the Quds Force, an arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, from killing Itzhak Moshe, a renowned Israeli-Georgian resident of the country's capital, Tbilisi. According to security officials in Israel, Iranian forces have previously attempted to kill Moshe. Moshe, 62, founded Israeli House, an organization that aims to strengthen Israel's reputation in Eastern Europe, and has formerly served as a senior Jewish agency representative in Russia. The attempt comes in the wake of other recent Iranian attempts to attack Israelis in the region, as an attempt to kill Israeli businessmen in Cyprus was made in October of last year, and an attack on Israelis in Istanbul was foiled by Israel and Turkey in June. The case is now being investigated. Georgia is a popular travel location for Israelis, especially the resort town of Batumi and the capital Tbilisi. In the meantime, no travel warnings to Georgia are planned, according to National Security Council officials. Efforts of former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to form a coalition agreement with his partners are bogged down. Netanyahu was given the mandate from President Herzog on Sunday, and there's still plenty of time to get the job done. But right now, political speculation is reaching a fevered pitch. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovich.
It could have been what is referred to in basketball jargon as a slam dunk. But 2 weeks after winning election with a solid 64-seat coalition, Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu is no closer to a coalition agreement with his partners. Few, if any, political pundits in Israel believe that Netanyahu will fail to fulfill his mandate given to him by President Isaac Herzog on Sunday. He has 26 days and a possible 14-day extension to do so. Yet, at this moment at least, the issues remain intractable, and political spins are aplenty. In today's reporting, the contacts between Likud, Yesh Atid, and the National Unity Party are underway. In that unlikely scenario, outgoing Prime Minister Lapid and Defense Minister Gantz would enter a broad Likud-led coalition. Coalition negotiations are said to be held up due to disputes between Bibi and religious Zionism head Bezalel Smotrich. The two leaders finally met after a full week. The issue is what government ministry Smotrich will receive. Smotrich is insisting on defense or possibly the finance ministry, while Netanyahu prefers to keep those key posts within his Likud party. Smotrich is now demanding expedited coalition talks to establish a right-wing religious government as soon as possible, insisting that the voters were promised greater security, and that is what must be delivered.
The National Religious Party and Likud both emphasized the issue of security in their election campaigns, and now the people are expecting that since they're heading into power, it'll be their responsibility to deliver.
A key figure in the coalition building is Shas leader Ariel. The question of which cabinet post and whether he can even serve in the cabinet is yet to be decided. Under the law, the twice convicted political leader may not be eligible. The incoming coalition is expected to enact a lightning legislative blitz to change the law even before the new government is sworn in. Current coalition bickering aside, the Netanyahu, Smotrich, and Deri-led government will be formed. It's only a matter of time.
Set in first-century Israel, historical drama series The Chosen is now set to release its third season this Friday, November 18. But for a sneak peek at the first few episodes of the third season in this unique series, the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. hosting a special theatrical screening event on Thursday the 17th. Filmed across Texas and Utah, the series created, directed, and co-written by American filmmaker Dallas Jenkins, and it's the first ever multi-season series surrounding the life and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, starring Jonathan Rumi in the titular role. But in contrast to other series and films, The Chosen focusing on portraying Jesus' life and teachings in a more personal and intimate way through the eyes of those who met him. To that end, Season 3 picking up after the famous Sermon on the Mount, with the 12 disciples preparing to take on new roles while challenged with their own many battles. Now finally, the Bible Museum's event is since sold out, but to watch the series, check it out for free through the Chosen app, or your choice of streaming platforms, including VidAngel, Amazon Prime, Trinity Broadcasting, and UpTV. And that's it for ILTV's Weekly Review. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next week.